Yo, what's up, guys? It's Tom and Scott. We're back as dad. We're back after watching Mando episode 7 Spies. And so we just wanted to jump on, give our thoughts, and kind of talk about the episode and getting prepped for the finale coming up, which I know I'm super hyped about. So, Scott,
Yeah.
man, overall impressions. I mean, they're definitely ramping up at the end of the season. What were your thoughts on this last episode, just general? What'd
Can
you
we
think?
talk about my shirt for a sec?
Yeah, let's do it.
How rad it is. Darth Vader's advanced TIE fighter.
Looks
77.
looks kind of tight.
It is kind of tight, man. I've
You might need to.
gotten a little swole in the last
You got a
couple.
size too small.
Yeah, I got this one at Baby Gap. So, yeah.
That's
It's
right,
actually
dude.
for my son, but I just figured I'd put it on since he's too small to
He'll
wear
grow
it.
into it one day.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool, dude.
But yeah, episode 7, Spies.
Yeah.
So I have been really happy with the season as a whole so far. I know a lot of I want to say a lot. There's been a handful of people that have kind of been like, the story's a little bland. It's all over the place. Not a lot of Mando. But for me, man, I like it. I think I feel like it's blown the doors wide open on the larger picture. And while I can understand the sentiment of it not being solely about Grogu and Din anymore, I think this is a necessity of where the story has to go to the overall picture of where Star Wars is going.
Yeah, I guess I'll touch on that a little too. Yeah, obviously you can't make everyone happy. You
No.
know, there's everyone when you enter into a show or a movie or a book, you have a picture in your mind of who are your favorite characters, where do you want to see the story go, all those different things. So it is tough
Yeah.
to do that. I think a lot of it is, and I don't think I'm alone in this. I wish the episodes were around an hour long.
Yeah.
I think that would satisfy a lot of people more and they could squeeze some more story in because I just feel like they're too short. And so that kind of sucks because you get some, again, this word is thrown in all the time, like filler episodes, kind of.
Yeah.
Episodes that aren't necessarily progressing the main storyline or plot, like side plots, things like that.
Yeah.
But in an 8-episode series, I wish every episode could be main story because it just seems like that's what it went to at first. Like we used to have these huge seasons of like 24 episodes, right, on TV shows. Then they condensed it to 8 and you felt like it was jam-packed. But now that we're down to 8, I feel like they went back to the old model of a lot of filler episodes, even in an 8-episode series. So I see why some people are,
Well, they're
upset. I
8
don't know.
because let's face it, man, like the production value is just off the charts. And it's not easy to do that. That's a lot of manpower to make it look that visually
I'm sure
spectacular.
the budgets are probably out of control.
So when we compare them to shows like even the original Clone Wars cartoons, like they're still cartoons at the end. That's a lot easier to manage. You want to compare it to another show on TV, like I don't know, pick one, Blacklist or whatever. Like it's just people in
Not
rooms
like making
acting.
30 episodes of Seinfeld in his apartment.
They're making huge CGI stuff. The costumes are insane. So I get it, and I think when you're referring to filler, you're probably talking about the Coruscant episode with Elia Kane and Dr. Pershing, right? Is that what you would consider a filler?
Partly, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I know what you're gonna say. You're like, oh, it's furthering the backstory of the spies in this, and it's doing some of those things, and I don't disagree with you. For the most part, but maybe it is just a lot of it hasn't dealt with Mando, the namesake of the show. You know what I mean? And you're like, why did they bring Grogu back if he's not going to be a focal point?
That was a mistake. That's internal problems with Lucasfilm and Kathleen Kennedy. Apparently, from what I've read up on, she's the one who forced him to come back, and that it was not planned. And I've even read in some articles, Could be clickbait, of course, that Favreau was close to walking out because he was so pissed off at what she was trying to have them do.
Well, you gotta sell more Grogu plushies, you know what I'm saying? So
Exactly.
He's got to get screen time. Let's just jump into it, right? So the name of the episode was Spies.
With an S.
So, yes, yeah, you point out the most important thing, spies plural, right?
Yeah.
So we obviously know that Elia Kane, it showed in the, early parts of the episode is, Moff Gideon made his return and she's, passing information directly to him. So they have a direct connection. So she is obviously a spy working from within the Republic, right?
Yes.
To gather information for their cause. We still don't know the full extent of what their plan is, although we did see Moff Gideon with a, I don't know, Dark Council-esque. I don't know if they name the name of the council.
That's the Shadow Council. Shadow Council. God, why can't I say it? Shadow Council is, if I'm remembering correctly now, that is from the original Heir to the Empire books by Timothy Zahn that was about Thrawn and all that. So it was kind of the remnants of the Empire that now created their own little council to figure out where they go from here, because now Palpatine's gone, and then there's also different ideologies among them. Some believe that they should bring Palpatine back. That's kind of the thing. The others believe no, we should move on.
In the scene. Yeah,
that was a great scene. Just him walking through those little ray shields, like very Phantom Menace like. But it was cool to see. I don't know if you noticed too, the General Hux's from the First Order's father was there. Yep. So 100%. It was a nice touch for fans who enjoyed that story, which is highly regarded as one of the best expanded universe story arcs told. Post Return of the Jedi.
So, Spies. Obviously, Moff Gideon's been moving in the background, right? The Shadow Council doing stuff, and we have a lot of candidates. What is one you want to go with first and talk about? Obviously, we're going to run down them all, but do you want to go with your the least, or maybe what you think is the most likely first?
For the spies, for the other spy.
Yeah.
Okay.
It could be one. We don't know. It could be one other spy, or it could be many other spies. It doesn't really make it clear.
I think the armor is the most obvious one, but I'm not falling for that.
Why do you think?
I think that's what they've led us to believe.
Oh, you mean that's what the show is wanting us to think before they subvert our expectations?
I think they've led us to believe that the armor is in fact a spy. I don't think she is. I really don't. I think they're putting it out there just kind of to obfuscate the actual spy. Okay. We know Elia Kane is, obviously. If I had to guess, I would probably go with that.
Well, let's stick with the armor first, though. Why? Okay. What do you think are the signs that the showrunners are trying to obfuscate, or what are some of the signs that have made you think, hey, look this direction while we go another direction? Kind of. I
think the most glaring thing is how she interacts with Bo-Katan. The armor was ready to kick Din out just for removing his helmet on his word in the first thing, but now she's totally okay with Bo removing her helmet after accepting her. She doesn't like the watch. They made that clear before.
What about the horns on her helmet? That seemed to line up with Moff Gideon's horns on his helmet. Seems to be some interesting implications there, right? What are your thoughts on that?
I think the most obvious answer could be maybe she's a Zabrak. Maybe she needs the horns in the helmet. That's a possibility, right?
Yes.
But it could be a very low-key indicator that she was part of the mandalorians, as we call them.
Right.
So I think, and to be glaringly obvious with the most recent episode, she was gone, escaping before all that shit went down and before Paz Vizsla went down. Yes. You remember she took off.
She took the injured Mandalorians back to the ship.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, you're right. It is seem like there's a lot of things that add up, and you're like, okay, maybe she's the obvious answer, because it does seem weird to me that all of a sudden she's like a 180 U-turn. Like, oh yeah, Bo, you can remove your helmet. Like,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, I'm like a super zealot, but yeah, I'm
Yeah.
fine with you doing it. And then
Yeah.
uh, she didn't believe her at first about the mythosaur, and then maybe she makes a 180 on that.
Right.
And then obviously when Moff Gideon came out with the horns on his helmet and his Mandalorian armor, you're like, okay, maybe there's a connection there with they both maybe served under Maul or have a respect for his,
I think
when he was in charge, because he had the dark saber would be like my reason why maybe she would follow that.
Don't you think it's odd though that Moff is wearing Mando armor to begin with, and that he had the dark saber, which he actually seemed pretty proficient in using? I'm inclined to believe he's a former Mandalorian of some sort,
I was
because
gonna say we could get into that.
no
Yeah.
Moffs were ever like this in the Empire. They were all kind of just smug bureaucrats. They weren't, aside from Tarkin, who was probably a great strategist, but
Right.
he wasn't combat ready. He probably would have never worn Mandalorian armor. Like, it seems out of place, and it makes me think that Moff was somehow a Mandalorian recruited to the Empire because of what he was good at, and he
I have a
basically sold
couple-
himself out.
Yeah, I have a theory on that, or maybe one or two theories. This is speculation time with Tom. We're gonna flip the
All right.
tables here.
Yeah, your turn. Hit it.
So you're right. He could have been a Mandalorian at some point, whether he was a Mandalorian of the Way. So maybe he didn't remove his helmet before. But he's pretty old at this point, and he's obviously pretty established in the Empire. So my theory is that obviously Darth Maul was once, very ingrained into the Empire, or not the Empire, but with Darth Sidious, and it seems like Moff Gideon has a working knowledge of a lot of things from behind the scenes. So my theory is maybe he had a relationship with Maul, predating Maul taking over Mandalore, and then maybe once he did, maybe they worked together behind the scenes after Maul was, kind of an outcast from Sidious. Maybe the two linked up in order to do something, or maybe he helped Maul with some things in Mandalore. So I don't want to rule out like a previous relationship, and maybe Moff Gideon was just a respecter of Maul, because it seems like he's trying to create some sort of force-sensitive Mandalorian troop with maybe the cloning. So maybe he has a respect for force sensitives, as well as, you know what I mean?
Are you saying that he has
culture.
that he has an ulterior motive? Like, his obsession with cloning isn't to bring Palpatine back.
I think he wants to take over. Yes.
Okay.
I think he has.
Interesting.
He respects the Sith. He respects their, hunger for power, and he respects maybe Maul to a case. So he's almost emulating Maul in a sense, or I don't know. That could.
Ooh,
this could
what
be
if
a
he
wild
wants
theory.
to bring Maul back? Oh,
That could be cool.
Somehow Maul has returned.
Yes.
Honestly, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah,
'Cause
so I don't know.
Maul's so
He
cool.
obviously respects the Mandalorian way to an extent, because he's incorporated their Beskar. You know what I mean? So he sees the benefits, and he's obviously a warrior himself.
Yeah.
He knows how to obviously wield the darksaber, and it will yield to him, when he wields it. So, and he maybe feels like he's the rightful Mandalorian leader because he bested Bo before.
Right.
And maybe he's the true owner of it until, you know what I mean? I don't know.
I had never thought about that before, actually. Like, because clearly the darksaber it takes skill to wield. It's not just a sword. It functions somewhat like a lightsaber, but you see Din, he struggles with it.
Yes.
He can't use it. So what that makes me believe is, and I don't know if Filoni's making a callback, but you remember how Kanan helped Sabine learn how to use it.
Yes, yes.
So is it possible that then Gideon has had some type of force sensitive training by, I don't know, Maul, somebody like that who taught him how to use it?
And maybe the armor still sees Moff Gideon as the
Rightful
true ruler
owner.
of Mandalore. So I don't know, but you're right. It could be a
Plot's
diversion.
thick.
It
It's thick
is
right now.
So I know we kind of went down a trail, but that was good
Yeah.
stuff on Moff Gideon. I think those are all really interesting points about why his characters developed the way it is. So all very interesting. So let's move on to another spy who you might think could be maybe we'll rule out some. I know I've seen some speculation on like Axe Woves, but he seems obvious as well. You know what I mean? Like, it wouldn't be very interesting if he was the spy.
Yeah.
And then of course a lot of people are pointing to the pirates, which could be true. They could be like tertiary, like spies, and they could have passed information to Moff Gideon if they're on the planet with him.
It's odd that they were just hanging out there undetected.
It is odd. It is.
Yeah.
And like they wouldn't have found or seen any kind of movement or anything on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's very likely, but I don't think they're like the masterminds, spies who were.
I think this is what's cool about Filoni and Favreau is like they've put enough in our heads to where we really can't guess. Like everybody is a suspect. This is like the game of Clue almost.
Yeah. So who's another one? Who do you think's the strongest? If you think.
Yeah.
You know.
The strongest. That's possibility. I mean.
You think it's Costco Reeves?
I think one of Bo-Katan's old crew members is the one who sold them out. I really do. I don't know if it's Costco or Axe. I mean, they're the ones we've seen the most, so it makes sense that one of them would be.
Right.
But I think I wouldn't even be surprised if it was like the whole what are they called? The owls? The
night owls.
Night owls, yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if like their whole crew sold out to Moff Gideon. Because it just it's odd how it's just all come together now.
Yeah. I don't know. I want it to be the armor. I don't know if it will be, but
I think most people are expecting it, which is why I don't think it is.
Yeah,
it's Grogu.
It's Grief Karga.
That would actually not surprise me either if it was him.
No, I want it to be the armor because I feel like for the Mandalorians to move forward, or even if Pedro Pascal to move forward, I think there's got to be a world where he can act without his helmet on.
Yes.
Like if the armor falls, then I feel like the way kind of falls apart to an extent.
And with Vizsla
like she's
now,
almost like a false prophet.
They were kind of the two leaders. So with them out of the picture, it's a chance for a new reformation of the whole thing.
Right. And this just goes into behind the scenes things with like Pedro Pascal, you know, being basically reduced to a voiceover actor at this point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Kind of a thing. So
at some point, you're right. The helmet does have to come off. Like
you would think
they're not paying this guy top dollar just to wear a helmet the whole time.
Right. Or the other thing is, I'm going to throw something wild out there.
Man, you're full of them today.
What if they kill off Mando? Is there a possibility in the finale that Mando doesn't make it after his capture? Because this season has almost been the Bo-Katan season in a way. I mean, she's been the main character of this season, the main protagonist. Am I wrong about her prominence?
No, you're not wrong.
You don't see it that way?
No, you're not wrong.
See it the same way? Okay. Yeah. Do you think they would do something like that? I mean, because the name Mandalorian can also apply to Bo-Katan or whoever.
Maybe that's intentional.
Is that a wild theory?
I think it's a little out there. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility, though. I could see something happening where they totally give us a good old fake out and make it seem like Mando's dead. or Din's dead and he's gone for maybe a season or so. Because I mean, just from a logistical perspective, I mean,
And
Pedro
then somehow
Pascal's
Din
like,
returns. Yeah.
they're just gonna meme that now and everything. Yeah. No, I mean, Pedro Pascal is like the most in-demand actor right now. He's in everything. So
Yeah.
I could see them maybe doing something like that briefly for maybe a season or two, but I don't know. Maybe they could. I'm not sure. That would be wild if they did that. That would shock a lot of people.
I mean, I think it would, but at this point, you're saying the whole season's been about Bo. But I guess if they're gonna make, if the show's gonna go on for multiple more seasons, then yes, you have room for Bo to take over for a little bit, and then for Din to come back if they remove him. So
Is
maybe
anybody really even opposed to Bo taking over? I love Katie Sackhoff. I think she's
I
phenomenal.
think she's been great and been a very interesting character. I'm trying to envision what is, if the storyline is not Mando and Grogu going forward, is it the Mandalorian, in quotes, like all of Mandalore's
Like
story?
the
Is that the
Jedi.
story going forward? Like, how does Bo rebuild Mandalore and fight against Moff Gideon and the Empire? Like, is that the story, or is the story what happens with Grogu? You know what I mean? Like, you have a fork in the road almost. Like,
does
way
Grogu
are we gonna
become
take
the
this?
Mandalorian?
What if Mando dies and then Grogu becomes a dark Jedi? He's like overcome with anger.
That'd be sweet. That would be super sweet. Those little mech.
The way I just, in my head from watching the season, the way I thought it was going to play out is that Mando would keep the dark saber and in essence become a ruler, and then Bo would tame the mythosaur, and they would kind of combine their powers and be like Grogu's mom and dad or something. But it doesn't seem like that. Maybe that's going to flip. Maybe Mando will tame the mythosaur.
Yeah.
Now that Bo has the dark saber back.
The more that we're talking about this, the more I'm starting to get on board with the armorer being the spy now. I know we just started this off with me and the other way, but I can see it.
Why do you say that?
Because if she is in fact a spy, I think there's an inevitable showdown between Bo and the armorer. In that showdown, the armorer is going to lose her helmet, so we'll finally get to see who she is. But she will somehow best Bo, get the dark saber, claim victory that she's now the ruler. Bo's going to go be like, you know what, bitch, I'm about to go get this mythosaur and just eat your dark saber. So I think we know that this mythosaur is going to be in this finale. They did not tease that just to leave it out right now.
Yeah, that was some huge foreshadowing.
Yeah. So I could see it going a number of ways, and I like that, man. As a fan, like, that's what you want to see. You don't want to see the too obvious.
Yeah.
You want to feel like many pathways are possible, and then you just have the hype to actually see what comes to fruition.
Is there a world where the armorer and Moff Gideon are not working in cahoots, but are both working against Bo? Like, the armorer has her own agenda, Moff Gideon has his own agenda.
What would that be?
Who, the armorers?
Yeah, what would her
Just to
agenda
be the ruler of Mandalore, to make to proselytize people into the way.
So you think it's more like they teamed up out of necessity rather than liking each other, like he said?
No, I'm saying maybe they're not even teamed up. They're both working against Bo independently, maybe. So Armorer wants control and Gideon wants her out of the picture. Yeah, they both kind of want the same thing. Just, I don't know. But maybe you're right. Maybe Moff Gideon has promised her, hey, you will be the ruler of Mandalore in essence. I will just be in the background behind the scenes kind of a thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's interesting.
It'll be interesting to see which way they go with it. You're right. The armorer has been prickly from the beginning. You know what I mean? They've portrayed her as not a likable character. Not like you hate the armorer, but you know what I mean? She's made it hard for Din every step of the way. Even at the point where him and Paz fought over the darksaber for, a bit, you know what I mean? Had to tussle. And so yeah, I don't know. I'm interested to see what they do in the finale for sure.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't like being this confused. I like to have an idea of where it's going, but I really don't.
It's good and bad. And so, but what we can say is that, especially given with Bad Batch how it wrapped up, the last finale has been well worth the wait, in these cases. And so I have faith that it'll be good, and I'm excited to see where it goes. And it's gonna suck that it's over, but the silver lining is that
was
every
so
day
fast.
It really was. It was crazy. I guess because we had double the episodes of Bad Batch, right? Like 16 episodes, I think. And so it did seem to go really fast, but every day that passes is one day closer to Ahsoka. So,
but we have nothing else in between, right? There's nothing else.
Jedi Survivor, I guess.
But no shows.
Yeah, not that I know. We'll have the.
When does Visions?
May the 4th will be Visions, I believe, and the kids show that's coming out.
All right.
Young Jedi's. I don't know. I'm forgetting the name. I know we just did a video on it, but
yeah.
So I did watch the first episode of Visions from season 1, and I gotta say, it was pretty cool. I think you'll like it. I can't vouch for the rest of the episodes. I haven't got there yet, but the first one was super cool. So yeah,
all right,
guys, that's kind of our take on the last episode, kind of our thoughts on where it's going. I mean, will it be the armor? Will it be someone else? I'm not really sure, but we're excited to see it. So if you guys like this video, give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and jump in the comments. Who do you think the additional spy is? Are there more than one? I mean, a lot of cool ways this get in. So anyway, guys, thanks for joining us, and see you guys in the next one.
Peace.
Later.